a little boy can be seen photographing a sizable edifice in the opening scene of the movie. In actuality, he was seeking for an intriguing story to write in order to profit greatly from it because he needed money. He is aware of the allegedly strange events that take place at this mansion. And it was once believed that the youngster had entered a haunted building because of this. His name was Jiko, and he is curious about what is inside the structure. He notices a boy standing next to him, but as soon as he turns, the boy is gone. Jiko meets the building's manager or caretaker. He says, "I've heard strange things happen in this building," asks about the paranormal activity in the structure, and then turns on his tape recorder. The manager nods in agreement and explains that the structure he is looking at used to be an orphanage. Many children lived in this structure, and one day it caught fire, killing the children within. Let me tell you about the incident that involved this building. I'll tell you about a writer who rented a room in this establishment. Because he had a son at home, he decided to discover a wonderful story and write it like you in order to find calm in his life. Previously, he bothered him. He was now writing his story while concentrating on it. He senses the children playing on the ground floor all of a sudden. The writer shares all of this information with the dealer, but the dealer is aware that nobody lived on the ground floor. He is also aware that the location is haunted, but the dealer refused to tell him anything because it would have cost him money. The dealer has to rent that writer a room in some way. Since the writer is unaware that the structure is haunted, anyone can do anything for financial gain. The author left the room by himself to get some water, but when he came back, his laptop was gone. The door opens as soon as the author turns after hearing a boy giggle. As he crawls, he observes a boy after his laptop falls to the ground. When the writer approaches, he doesn't discover anything. He now makes the decision to proceed to the floor where he first heard the children's voices. In a fit of wrath, the author discovers numerous pairs of children's shoes and tosses them in the trash. That evening, his doorbell rings, and when he answers it, the pair of shoes is there. When he opens his door again, he discovers the burned children on the other side. Because the souls of the burned children were hanging, the writer faints from fear. They murder the author there, and the narrative then returns to Jiko, who is then inquiring as to what had become of the author. The manager asks, "Tell me about yourself." We always care about those we are making our friends with, and then chooses not to respond. Let me tell you another story. Actually, Jiko desires a ghostly horror tale. The manager now shares another tale about a pharmacy girl because he needs a pleasant story to save his job. She was attractive and entered her room with the radio playing after taking a shower. It carried word that a guy had killed his wife and his 9-year-old son. The police are looking for that man, but she was speaking to her mother and convincing her that she shouldn't be dating anyone. Her mother was giving her daughter advice because she had been duped by her father. She ignores her mother's advice, cuts off the conversation, and a boy's photo appears alongside her. We find out that the girl was already dating her friend. The girl asks her friend what occurred when he gets at her house tensely at night. "My wife found out everything about us," the boy says, "so I have to stay with you for a few days." "You're welcome to live with me for the rest of my days," the girl says. The girl was on her way to work the following morning when 2 police officers approached her. When they displayed his image and inquired about her acquaintance, does she know him? He killed his son and his wife. When she hears this, she runs home and contacts her pal. When she enters the house, her companion is in the shower when we hear the news on the radio about her. She claims that everything has been found out by the police and that we must leave quickly. Otherwise, the authorities will find you, but her companion pleaded with her not to tell anyone. When that girl's door is then knocked on, she is startled to see her pal standing there. She worries that if her companion is outside, someone else might be inside taking a shower. "If you're here, who else is inside?" she explains as she points toward the restroom as she beckons her actual pal inside. In the restroom, her companion also sees a man who looks like him having a shower. The boy's murder of his wife and son is then demonstrated. He is depicted with a hammer, the same weapon he used to murder his kid and wife. The surroundings alter, and blood was dripping from the house's walls. While having a shower, an evil entity was present. The screen goes blank after saying, "I have begged you not to divulge anything to anyone." It implies that the girl and her buddy were necessary to the evil spirit. The manager then tells his third tale, which is about the dealer who rented that writer a room. The writer was not informed of the building's spectral presence by the dealer. The dealer is now seen eating while seated at a table. And it seemed like he was speaking to his wife. Then we realized that the person he was speaking to was a doll. He treated a doll like his wife. The dealer was on the phone the following day when a wrapped dead body suddenly appeared. It was his wife, whose body he had kept wrapped in plastic. He killed his wife, therefore perhaps he was mentally ill or had some other issue. He keeps a doll in place of his real wife, but one day he notices that his sink is dripping unclean water, and when he turned around, his real wife's dead body had vanished. When he looks inside the sink and notices the dead body's hand, he shuts the tap off. After seeing this, the dealer's condition deteriorates. The dealer is seen eating with the doll the following day in the scene that follows. His doll suddenly falls from behind as he hears conversations coming from the sink and turns to look in that direction. His wife's dead body was in front of him when he looked at the doll. Now that he had seen everything, the dealer became terrified and went into a room. He perceives the voices as though his dead wife's body were emerging from the plastic. His doll follows him as he hides inside a cupboard, and the scene ends here. The manager has now told 3 stories. He visits the dealer, who is still alive but has lost his hands. That dealer's hands were sliced by the object that is within the mansion. Although he wasn't slain, he had lost his mind. The dealer makes a bizarre remark about a cult and a church, but Jiko is unable to interpret what he said. Now, Jiko submits these 3 stories to his publisher. The publisher claims that while the stories are fantastic and horrifying, you must make them extremely long in order to enhance audience attention and earn money. Jiko needs money, so he enters the facility once more to speak with the boss and requests that he tell him more tales. The manager chuckles and advises you should leave the mansion because it only contains those stories if you still believe them to be unimportant. In a fit of wrath, Jiko demands that you have to tell me more stories and you have to tell me about the things that happened here. For this, I am ready to give anything. He pulls out his recorder and pays attention as the manager tells his tale. This youngster moved in with a friend to reside in this building and then traveled to study overseas. He failed for some reason and came back. He moved in with his friend and was delighted to have met him. The boy notices his friend's face to have several pimples and an odd itchy sensation. The youngster discovers the spoiled food in his buddy's home, but his friend was still enjoying it as though it were nice and fresh. The child cleaned his friend's house after discovering bad food in the fridge after his friend left for work the following day. He enters his friend's room, but it smells strange because his room has fungus. There was a photo of his pal and his parents, but it was filthy and moldy. When his pal comes home after cleaning his room, he is startled. Because he tried to clean his house, he begins assaulting his friend. "You're really rude to touch my parents." The boy was feeling strange and terrified because he thinks the house is inhabited by bad spirits that have black scars. He prepares to go by loading his suitcase. He detects an odor in the interim because the space he cleaned was unchanged. This painting featured the fungus and black marks, and by the time his companion arrived, his face had changed strangely. It was now obvious that his friend had died and was no longer alive. The dark hands in the artwork appear when the youngster steps backwards in fear. The room's door then closes, making it obvious that the youngster had died inside the structure. The focus switches to Jiko in the present, who asks the manager if a cult constructed this structure. Here, the manager hands Jiko the key to a room and instructs him to enter the room to find out the truth. Jiko was given the key to room 1504. It was the final room in the building. He discovers a tape there. When he switches it on, the manager's tape is playing, and in the next scene, Jiko's pal is seen thinking about him. Due to his research, Jiko missed his birthday, which was today. His companion later views the 3 recorded tales by Jiko. The startling part is that when his companion heard this, she could hear was Jiko's voice and not the man whose voice he was interviewing. She then realizes that Jiko's life is in peril. She immediately walks over to the building, where Jiko is displayed and a voice can be heard suddenly coming from the tape he was carrying. "If you are listening, Jiko, then I'll tell you this story since you want to know the truth." These last 5 stories are about the manager. The building's management tells him a tale about how he was once just like him. The difference is that while you came here looking for a story, I came here with a friend to commit a heist before the manager's narrative was revealed. The manager and his friend can be seen conversing while inside the automobile. We learn that a guy who worships devils built the structure. The manager and his friend needed money since the manager's friend's mother was in the hospital, and their money was in a room in this building. His pal needs money to pay for his mother's medical care. They came to this building to commit a heist for that purpose. They now proceed to room 1504, which key the management gave to Jiko. The cult leader's body is discovered, and in the meantime, his friend notices hairs sprouting out of the cabinet. The hairs vanish as he approaches. The manager asked, "Do you know that this dead person may be revived?" There was also a cloth there. This dead body is bound because of this. His friend urged him to leave immediately, saying, "Listen, I don't think this place is safe." The manager then unearths a key from the dead man's mouth that was stashed away in a cabinet. The manager discovers a large sum of money, smiles upon seeing it, and exclaims, "Look, we've gotten rich." His pal then turns to see, but no one was present when he heard the anklet voice from behind. Once more turning, he discovers the dead body close to his face. As he prepared to start his car, the manager sat down and asked his companion, "Where were you?" "Look, I brought some cash. Do you want to see what you left?" As the manager's companion watches, he notices the dead man's feet, which had anklet bracelets on them. That dead body wasn't the manager, and both of them died. The focus then turns to Jiko, who once more sees the dead body. He retreats to the cabinet where the manager had previously taken the cash. While stating this, the manager dons Jiko's attire and enters, adding, "The time I have spent with you was lovely, and I will miss you." The people near the church found there is demon worship in this structure. The deceased body of the cult leader was imprisoned with a force and kept in this room with some anklet bracelets connected to him. Due of this, The manager damaged everything for financial gain, the dead body was revived, and everyone who moved in was murdered. Now, Jiko had been imprisoned in the cabinet for all time, but when Jiko's friend showed up, she was shocked to discover Jiko there. His eyes abruptly became black, and he gave a strange smile. It indicates that he was the demonic spirit cult leader alone. The companion of Jiko has recognized that he is not Jiko. With this tragically incomplete killing, the movie ends. Thanks for watching and click on the next movie recap displayed on screen.